Not the poetic kind. The kind that crept under doors and settled in the bones of the house. The radiators hissed like tired lungs. Frost stitched pale flowers across the bedroom window. And Daniel lay beside me, his arm heavy across my waist, his breath warm against my shoulder. I felt nothing. No spark. No comfort. Just the weight. He stirred, fingers grazing my hip in a familiar claim. "You're cold," he murmured, pulling me closer. "I'm fine," I whispered. But I wasn't cold. I was distant. When we first met, I mistook his intensity for passion. He noticed everything. How many sugars I put in my coffee, which earrings I wore twice in a week, the way men glanced at me in restaurants. I thought it meant I was cherished. Chosen. I didn't understand that attention can be a cage when it never blinks. The jealousy came slowly. A comment about my coworker laughing too loudly at my desk. A question about why I took 10 minutes longer than usual at the grocery store. A frown when I wore red lipstick because it sends the wrong message. He never shouted in the beginning. He simply tightened. His hand at the small of my back became a steering wheel. His arm around my shoulders a boundary line. When friends invited me out, he'd sigh, soft, disappointed. "I just thought we'd spend the evening together," he'd say, eyes dimming like I had broken something fragile. So I stayed. It was easier to stay. Over time, I learned to close doors quietly. I stopped answering calls in the same room as him. I turned my phone face down. I chose sweaters over dresses, neutral over bright. I let friendships thin out like old fabric. Behind closed doors, I became smaller. He liked the doors closed. He said the world was intrusive, that people were envious of what we had. "They don't understand our connection," he would tell me, brushing my hair behind my ear. Connection. The word felt foreign in my chest. At night, he reached for me with a hunger that had nothing to do with love. His hands moved with certainty, like he was claiming property he feared might vanish. I lay still, staring at the ceiling, counting cracks in the plaster. When he kissed my neck, I felt the motion but not the meaning. Afterward, he would hold me tightly, almost desperately. "Promise me you'll never leave," he'd whisper into my skin. And I would nod, because it seemed safer than telling the truth. I had already left in the quietest way possible. The house grew quieter with the years. Curtains stayed drawn. The spare room collected dust instead of guests. Even sunlight felt like an intruder, slipping through narrow gaps and landing on the floor like evidence. Sometimes I stood at the window after he left for work, pressing my palm against the cold glass. I imagined stepping outside without checking the time, without rehearsing explanations. I imagined laughter that didn't require permission. But imagination was as far as I went. Because his jealousy did not just guard the doors, it lived inside me now. It whispered that I was fragile, that the world was sharp, that no one would want a woman who flinched at affection. So I stayed in rooms that never warmed. And every night, when his touch traced the outline of my body, I wondered whether numbness was safer than fire. I didn't know then that